Welcome to SoulMeds 1. The meditation today will focus on building an altar. Something we don't really do much today, but something we need to rethink as part of our spiritual and relationship experience with Jesus Christ. The thought today: altars are not common among Christians. They are common in other religious philosophies. The purpose of these monuments is to remember an event in the future. Jesus was put on the sacrifice altar, so we no longer need it for salvation. Our scripture today is Judges 6:12-24. I will read from the New International Reader's Version. You can read from whatever version you prefer. The angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon. He said, "Mighty warrior, the Lord is with you." "Pardon me, sir?" Gideon asked. "You say the Lord is with us? Then why has all this happened to us? Where are all the wonderful things he has done? Our people of long ago told us about them. They said, 'Didn't the Lord bring us out of Egypt? But now the Lord has deserted us. He has handed us over to Midian.'" The Lord turned to Gideon. He said to him, "You are strong. Go and save Israel from the power of Midian. I am sending you." "Pardon me, sir?" Gideon said. "How can I possibly save Israel? My family group is the weakest in the tribe of Manasseh, and I'm the least important of my family." The Lord answered, "I will be with you. So you will strike down the Midianites. You will leave no one alive." Gideon replied, "If you are pleased with me, give me a special sign. Then I'll know that it's really you talking to me. Please don't go away until I come back. I'll bring my offering and set it down in front of you." The Lord said, "I will wait until you return." Gideon went inside and prepared a young goat. From 36 pounds of flour he made bread without using yeast. He put the meat in a basket, and in a pot he put soup made from the meat. Then he brought all of it and offered it to the Lord under the oak tree. The angel of God said to Gideon, "Take the meat and the bread, place them on this rock, and pour out the soup." So Gideon did it. The angel of the Lord had a walking stick in his hand. With the tip of the stick he touched the meat and the bread. Fire blazed out of the rock. It burned up the meat and the bread. Then the angel of the Lord disappeared. Gideon realized it was the angel of the Lord. He cried out, "Oh no, my Lord and King, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face." But the Lord said to him, "May peace be with you. Do not be afraid. You are not going to die." So Gideon built an altar there to honor the Lord. He called it, "The Lord is Peace." It still stands in Ophrah to this day. Ophrah is in the territory that belongs to the family of Abiezer. Today, wars in the news every day. God called his people to war. We don't like war because of the pain and suffering our loved ones. It's just too high. What will we do in the following 365 days? What will change? Israel was faced with a decision. God had taken away his power and blessings from them. They needed a leader, a challenger to the army surrounding them. God chose Gideon as the man to do the job. He was a poor man from the tribe with the fewest people. He was God's first choice, not the people's. God's first choice is what we want to be. It should be the primary goal of our life. Gideon had many excuses why he could not do what God wanted. But God did not change his mind. Instead, he challenged Gideon to go, because God has sent him. Gideon's reaction to this challenge was comprised of two things. The first was to prepare an offering. Today, we do not make animal offerings to God. We celebrate by having a party with ourselves, and churches often have a special service, whether ordination or sending service or just a special service as a kind of a memorial to an event focused on God's power, intervention, or other blessing that God has brought. For Israel, an offering was demanded by the law for sins done. It was the only way to have salvation and God's blessing. As a form of reverence, Gideon built an altar to have his offering burnt by the angel. We do not see angels today, not like the pictures that we see in the Bible or in frescoes. But Gideon didn't understand it was an angel. Only when Gideon saw the fire did he believe. We need to listen to God. Gideon's sign needed a sign, had to obey to get it. We need to focus on what is God saying to us through other people and listen to what God asks us to do. Listening is hard because our minds are full of other things around us. So many distractions in today's techno world. We focus on ourselves and need to make more of an effort to focus on God and His directions. The last thing Gideon did was make an altar. We do not make altars today because we consider them to be from idolatry. But altars are made as a symbol of remembrance of an event for the future. Altars for Israel were about places to come back to, because they often wandered and came back and back to the same place, and they could see the altar and remember what God did. They were symbols of what God had done for the person or the nation at that point. There were altars used in sacrifice, like the one Abraham used when he and his son went to the mountain. Each time they built an altar at a special place, they gave it a special name, noting God's action at that point, at that position and place. They could not say the name for God. That was forbidden. But they could describe God. And that's where the names of God, the many names of God, come from. They increased their view of God by building an altar and adding a description to His name. I have chosen a few of the many names for God found in the Bible, and you can memorize a few. If you do a little search, you can find many more. Use and add to them as you remember times when God blessed you. Make an altar to remember God and what describes God. By describing God, we get to know and understand God more. Let's try a few of them. I'm not a scholar in languages, so I may mispronounce them and misspeak them. Just, you can go to the internet and get correct pronunciation if you would like. Abiel, Abihu, Abir, Abehel, Adonai, Uel, Uriah, Ethiel. These are all describing our relationship with God. Now, we don't have to be language scholars. We can just use simple English. God did something here. God, we worship God here. The flame of God, Uriel, God was like a flame here. God possessed me. God came to inhabit me. So many ideas, but we never think too much about describing God. For reflection, we have 3 questions. How often does the character of God enter our conversation? That was something I thought about this morning. At the beginning of every conversation, if we say the Lord is, the Lord has, the Lord will, our conversations will maybe take a different nature. If we talk about the character of God first, and then expand on how He blesses us, maybe it will change our conversations. Number 2, how would remembering what God did enhance conversations in our relationships? Talking about God, remembering God, talking about building the altar, the power of God. Would that change our relationships if we did that more often? And third, how would remembering God's work empower change in our community? We've been focusing on changing our community and how I can live. And how would remembering God's work change our communities, or our community focus in what we do? In prayer, Lord, I do not tell people about your power enough. I need to build altars of remembrance so I can speak boldly about you. In Jesus' name, amen.